Okay, pretty good. So you can see this, for this hook on this Harbor Freight crane, that 3/4 inch hole has a tiny bit of space there, but not much. So that 3/4 inch hole is about right. Seems to do a good job. Something I didn't notice before until just now was I don't see this thing spinning right here when I'm cranking a load on it. It just seems to kind of slide through there. So I don't know how much drag that's causing, how much easier it would lift if that was spinning better. Okay, so we've got our load tied on down there, you can see. And I just put a couple, hopefully this camera will stay here. I already put a couple little hash marks there, you can see, little Sharpie marks. Let's crank it up and see. I wonder if that's not what's causing my load to spin, because there's so much tension on this cable as it's twisted that it's twisting this part down here. Well, I didn't see it move once, did you? Let's lower it, see if it's any better lowering. Well, it moved a tiny bit right there. That's kind of a fail. It's definitely making the cable twist. I think that's what's making the cable twist. I mean, it kind of spins by hand, but it is not spinning by when there's a load on it. So I'm wondering about cutting this off and putting on a different kind. Maybe I'll look for a different kind, because that's a lot of resistance. That's almost 90 degrees that cable's sliding against. I could be using maybe some less energy. I don't know how much energy, a lot or a little bit, who knows, if that thing actually spun. Maybe it needs some lubrication. There's a new lubrication point on it, obviously. Whatever I weld on here is going to have to be not longer than that right there. It still needs to go down that hole for guidance support. And I didn't look at that wheel to see if it was spinning. Can't really see that wheel while I'm cranking. It turns easily like this. It sure doesn't turn when there's a load on it though. Okay, let's figure that out. All right, so in an attempt to solve the pulley not moving issue, I picked this up at Tractor Supply. I can't really turn this over. SB100FM, whatever that is. This is a Tough Tug 2-inch diameter sheave block, 1,000-pound load capacity. That's the cable size, made in the USA, dude. And then I think, I can't tell by looking at it, it's a grade 5 bolt there, but it almost looks like, I didn't take it apart, but it almost looks like down inside there, if I shine a light down there, there's a sleeve around the bolt as well. So this thing turns pretty easy, okay? So originally it looked like this, with those little places that you could drill, and I cut those off with a porta-band. This is wider than 2 inches. This overall length is wider than 2 inches right here. So my crane is 2 inches wide, so I didn't want to hang it over. And I thought, well, I'll just cut it off after I weld it on. But what I'm going to do is just weld a bead along here, weld a bead along here. This is a little shorter than 2 inches, or right at 2 inches, so it'll be right on the edge. So good. And then, will the cable that runs over this wheel like this and then go down, will that flop over the side? And I think that's a possibility. So this is just 1/8 some flat that I had laying around, and we'll weld those two right there like that. And so that'll stick up kind of high actually, but it may keep the cable in there from, I don't know, it might not even need this, and maybe I'll weld this on later if I need it. I don't know. I just made them today because I could. Okay, off with the old. Here's the old one. Came off right there. Used to sit right here. Just used the cutoff wheel. Ran along the bottom edge there. Cut it right off. I was hoping it would come apart or slide apart but maybe I'll cut it apart later and look at it because I'll probably never use it again. Okay, the new one, I just welded the tabs on, and it looks pretty good. I mean, I think that'll trap the cable, and the cable will end up in the wheel and not try to go off beside the wheel. That's good. And it's a little off though. I mean, my tabs, you can see one is in front of the other one, and this one kind of sticks out behind, but I didn't realize it till I was looking at it after I tacked them on, that look, these pieces right here, the original pieces that hold the wheel, are also out of alignment as well. So, okay. If it was made in China, I'd blame China, but I'm not blaming America right now. Okay, so, but it's fine. It'll do the job. Let's get this welded on. And the key here, I think, is just tacking it in place and making sure when I weight the cable like this, that the cable's going right down the middle of this top hole. So that inner pulley right there kind of keeps it from, keeps it in alignment as well. And also that helps if there's a directional pull like this direction, that keeps the cable from hitting the metal down here. Okay, so let's tack it in, make sure it's lined up, and then we'll get it burned in, and then we'll test it out. Okay, hopefully those little marks are coming out on the pulley there. We've got the same 200-pound generator on that we had before, and we're going to go ahead and try to crank it up here. See if this pulley actually rolls. You know, that's remarkably easier. I mean, noticeably easier. I'm using a lot less elbow grease. Camera tried to tip over here. Let's straighten it up. Okay, so that seemed to do the trick. I had to paint over my Made in USA sticker. That's a bummer. But I welded on the front edge, along the side and the back edge, all the way around. And these little ears, I guess I could weld a piece across here just to keep the cable trapped. I mean, if I ever were to pull the cable through, I'd have to cut it there or pull it through from back here, one of the two. So, because I have to go through those holes. So I could have a piece that could keep it contained right there, but it hasn't seemed to want to jump over that part, so might be just fine. Okay, awesome. One more problem solved. Okay, so cut it apart with a Portaband right there, and just ran the Portaband blade right inside there. And yeah, it's you know, obviously there's no bearing. It's just rolls on there. Of course, it turns fine by hand, and it turned fine by hand on the crane. It's just with the load, it didn't turn. So it looks like it had turned some, maybe with a lighter load. It wasn't binding, maybe with some logs I was lifting, or I don't know. some other things, whatever. I lifted an axle. It was pretty dang heavy though, a couple times. I don't know. I was wondering if I could have drilled a hole right here big enough for my needle grease gun adapter that I could pump grease in there and maybe get some grease down there and maybe get it lubed so it'd turn better. I don't know if that's worth trying, but there's not much space there. I mean, it'd be far better to have a grease zerk, a hole drilled in a grease zerk there so that you could grease it, and then maybe it would turn. Maybe it wouldn't bind. You know, I don't know. I'm no expert. I know the one I welded on is working. A little bit of an annoyance to have to do that, but it does make cranking a 200-pound load easier, and I bet 400 or 500 pounds is going to make it cranking a lot easier. So, good.